You'll never know you love your motherland so much if you're not in there.
The iron food bowl, the TFM.
The iron food bowl. We speak Chinese.
Yeah. Well, Didi, like last time, we were in U.S., in Berkeley. I already received about 200 CDs.
They're very smart. One of them, they take my WeChat number.
Oh.
Hello and welcome to Crossover. I'm Yi Shu in Beijing with my fabulous guest host Tianren. Thanks for being here with me again.
Happy to be here again. I'm going to have to start wearing more suits. I need to have more studio clothing.
Expand your wardrobe.
Yeah, for sure.
So Tianren, you know, in the last 10 years, there have been more and more Chinese students going abroad. Everyone's heard that story.
For sure.
And I know you've encountered some of those when you were back in the UK.
Yeah, I actually, the reason that my Chinese improved was because I actually shared a dorm with a lot of study abroad students. But they've mostly stayed on in the UK, whereas I've come back to China, which is it was a bit strange telling them that story.
And that's what usually happened about 8 years ago, is the Chinese students would go abroad and they would stay there to work. But now, more and more, increasingly, the overseas Chinese are coming back to China to look for jobs.
Because this is where all the opportunities are these days,
well,
it seems.
That's what it appears to be. When we come back, we're going to have a CEO of a website that caters in looking for jobs for overseas returnees.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
I wish I knew of them before I came here.
It's a brand new startup. And along with her, we're going to talk with some HR VPs about what they look for when they're hiring employees. Please stay with us.
And that's the thing what we are expecting for our employees, not waiting until the boss comes and they do this and do that. Just be proactive.
Well, Didi, like last time, we were in U.S., in Berkeley. I already received about 200 CDs.
They're very smart. One of them, they take my WeChat number.
I have enough time to prepare it, do it like really well and beautifully, give you a very satisfactory result.
It's very gentle and very British, actually.
So welcome back to Crossover. Before the break, we were talking to 3 overseas returnees who are now working in China, but I think we'd like to have a look at the other side of the spectrum now.
Yeah, and today we have Crystal Kong, who is CEO of Lockin.com, which is one of China's first websites, or the first website for overseas returnees looking for jobs here in China. We have Michael, who's from Audi. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Vicky from Didi, one of China's most exciting new tech startups.
Yes.
Thank you, the 3 of you, for being here.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure.
Crystal, tell me about this startup.
Well, yeah, it's pretty exciting, and with my client especially. Well, because Lockin China could be very new, and we start over, we start everything from early of this year, but we grow really fast. And so we are the first. We're the first to focus on the overseas returnees only, and we try to help them to find the first job when they return back to China, including some professional as well. Like if you have several years experience with any industry experience, that's fine. If you want to go back to find a job, we could be the very first step.
So Michael, you're with a very big, well-known foreign company. How do overseas returnees affect the sort of company makeup for you? Why are they so special?
They are very special for us, of course. You know, I come from Audi, and behind our cars and behind this brand, there are people. So, and just within Audi China, here in China, almost half of our employees are overseas returnees, have at least international experiences. So, for me, the most important thing that they can bridge both worlds. They know the international world. The most of our employees have studying experience in Germany, of course. They know the German world. They have practical experience mostly. They did internships in foreign companies, even in China or abroad. And this experience they bring in this company, and they have a lot of understanding about that, how maybe we foreigners are acting, but they also have a big understanding about Chinese.
And that makes sense because Audi is a German company. But what about for a company like Didi, which is a Chinese company, and your market is China at the moment? don't know. You might try to conquer the world after this. Yeah, it's a Chinese market. It's a Chinese company. How does do you need this sort of bilingualism? You do.
Yes.
What do they bring to the table for you?
Okay, it's a dilemma, I think. The advantage for the returnees from overseas to China, I think they have much like innovation, leadership, and very aggressive. And this is going to globalize in a short time, I think. But the disadvantage for the returnees, I think they are have culture shock here and not very down to earth.
So you feel that overseas returnees have a sort of higher, not higher self-esteem, but almost they're a bit arrogant compared to local graduates?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What percentage of your staff is overseas returnee?
Oh, now we're not very much, but from this year we
just the start.
cooperate
Oh,
we cooperate with Locking China in the first time, and we go abroad to find some overseas.
And is this is a strategic HR initiative so that you can get people who are much more aggressive and I guess faster paced and analytical? Is that what you're looking for?
We're looking for people like very smart guys. Not smart is not only the truth, but we are looking for like those very innovation, and they have like analytical and like computer science, data mining, etc.
But I think much more important than these skills is for us, for example, is that people overseas have learned to be a little bit more proactive.
Yeah.
That they learn to take responsibility, that they have learned to care for themselves. Right. If you go abroad with 18, 19 years, you are lost, you are alone, nobody tells you what to do.
Yeah.
More
and that's
independent.
the thing what we are expecting for our employees, not waiting until the boss comes and they do this and do that. Just be proactive.
Again,
take your
it's
responsibility.
the soft
mindset.
skills, the leadership.
Exactly.
Definitely
Very
the soft
open-minded.
skills.
You know, we talked a little bit about what employers are looking for in overseas returnees. What about the overseas returnees themselves? You know, I know you've done a lot of studies. In fact, those charts that we saw in the earlier part of the show were from your company.
Right.
Tell me about the data. You surveyed like 20,000 overseas returnees. What did you discover?
Because usually if we go overseas to have some workshop, we usually ask like how many students, like right now, do you want to return back to China once you graduate? Like let's say 3 years ago, probably 70% they hung up and said, oh, no, I won't, I will stay. So looking for the other opportunity. Take example in the US, they have 1 year visa for the internship. After this year, they have to leave. But before this time, everybody stay.
They used to all want to stay.
They used all year to wait the opportunity, actually, not really use up. So right now, if you do the survey again, take examples, you ask the same question. So see how many students or how many of you guys want to stay, and you only still have 30% left.
Really?
Yes, it's a big change.
It's a big change.
It surprised us, actually.
How many years, when you're saying before and now?
A couple years.
Just in a couple years?
2 or 3 years.
I remember I graduated in 2007, and back then my friends who were study abroad students from China who were studying in the UK, they all opted to stay in the UK. It was kind of seen as, if you went back to China, it was seen as a failure. It was seen as, you know, you were unable to get a decent job in a foreign company, in a foreign country.
But this is where it's exciting when it comes to a job. I mean, you have...
Well, here's a very long story about this part, actually. Because a lot of students with a very great background, I mean, the fresh graduation, take example, fresh graduations. Well, if they study overseas, they have no idea when they should apply for a job. Usually they wait until they graduate or until they move back to China. They start to find a job. But actually, we can question the two employers.
Yes.
They won't wait them. They will hire everybody like a year earlier before they graduate. Take examples for the other position to 2016. I mean next year, everybody will just fill all the position by end of this year, right?
Will you?
But that underlines what I mentioned before.
Yeah.
That you have to be maybe in contact with a company before, during your study time.
Yeah, exactly.
If this is for writing your thesis together with a company or for internship or something like this. So very often out of this relationship, maybe long-time relationship, there comes then your first job drop out. But I also want to mention we also are doing our surveys worldwide in our different locations, if it is in Germany or in China or in Mexico, for example. And we have one of the columns of our company strategies to be an attractive employer worldwide. And we ask our employees, what makes the employer attractive? And we get very similar results in the factors of attractiveness, maybe in a different role. But what is the same in China as in Germany is to have a safe job, that you have a personal development opportunity, that you have a justice salary system, and getting more and more, even in China, is work-life balance, whatever this means. So that we have to provide, even in Germany, in Mexico, or in China.
Yeah, exactly.
And this doesn't make a difference, let me add this, if they are returnees from overseas or local hired people here, or we global expats, of course, as well.
It doesn't seem like salary places very high on that list.
Salary in China is very important. I realize even more important than in Germany is one factor, definitely, but only one. You can pay the highest salary when the employee does not feel well. If you have permanent conflicts with your supervisors, your colleagues, or if you have the feeling I have no chance in this company, then you cannot pay enough, then you will leave, definitely.
Do you feel like they're even more sensitive to that here in China than abroad?
I have this impression, that just these external factors like salary, like benefits, the discussion, which shuttle
Like
bus
benefits,
lines do we have here, these are very crucial and very important, and we have to take it serious, of course.
Yeah, well, I have a little bit different comments on this part. It really depends, where did you graduate? As usually, if the student graduated from Germany, they're looking for the salary very sensitively, yes. Because we do the survey, we found it's very interesting because for the student who graduate from Germany, they get a little bit easier to find a job because usually they graduate from engineering, computer science, those kind of positions, you know. So they're looking for the particular job or position, or from Audi, from Bosch, from BMW, you know, because they know what they're looking for. So they're looking for the position, they know how much of it is. So they're looking for the money and very sensitively. But if the people from right now, take example from people from UK, well, because it might be a little bit hard for them to find a job because usually they graduate from 1 year, like a master.
Okay.
Well, it's very interesting because when we have had a workshop in UK, you find a student just finish the orientation because they just enter and they already started to find a job.
And they're already starting to look for. They haven't learned anything yet in their program.
Exactly. Well, that's very interesting because you keep saying you should apply job like a year earlier.
Right.
But those guys are really confused because what should I put on the resume? I even don't know what should I learn this year.
Right.
But here's the truth: if you don't apply for now, you have to wait another year. It's really tricky, but that's the part of the thing you should, very difficult, you should face off.